Welcome to a new series where we'll be going over the basics of coding in Java. This series will go over just the fundamentals of Java first, and then there'll be another series coming up on how to code Java much more easily and quickly by making use of AI. However, we have to know the basic concepts first, so that's why we have this Java Basics series as well. So there'll be 10 videos in the series, each going over different Java concepts. And by the end of the series, we'll hopefully be able to get a basic understanding of what Java is and what it can do. Today we'll get started by just setting up our Java environment and creating our first program with Java. So why are we learning Java and not some other language? Firstly, millions, if not billions of users use apps that make use of Java behind the scenes, meaning Java powers billions of devices worldwide. Secondly, globally, Java is the backbone behind modern enterprise software, meaning it's used in a lot of businesses, meaning being knowledgeable in Java is more likely to get you a job at a large tech company. And finally, when it comes to Java's syntax and grammatical rules, it's a very strict language, and code is very error prone. This means that Java basically enforces good coding discipline and requires you to always code properly. So now that we know what Java is, let's actually get started coding. However, before coding, we have to know about the Java Development Kit and its purpose. So right out of the box, computers can't just interpret Java code by default. So that means we have to install something called the Java Development Kit, which will help the computer translate Java code into bytecode, and then we can take that bytecode and then execute it on any machine. That's another advantage of Java, the fact that Java bytecode can be run by any client with Java installed, meaning you can write the code once and then run it anywhere. So now let's install the JDK by first going to this Oracle page here. So if we scroll down, you can see there are downloads for several versions of Java. So what I typically do is just install the latest LTS release because that'll have long-term support. So the latest one is JDK 25 here. So now select your operating system and then click on either the installer or the MSI installer. Once that's completed, we can now open the file. And then this installation wizard will pop up. So it'll ask for a location to install the JDK. And then when we click next, it'll start installing the JDK. And afterwards, it'll say the Java Development Kit successfully installed. We don't have to click next steps because we already have next steps in this tutorial, so now we can close it. The next step to setting up our Java environment is installing VS Code. This is the IDE which we'll actually use to write Java code inside of. So now we can click on the download button right here. And then the download progress will pop up here. Again, we can open the file to install it. Then we can read the terms here and accept them. select a location for installing. And then we can add a start menu folder if we want. And then we can select additional tasks for the installer to do. So creating a desktop icon could come in handy, but we want to check these add open with code actions to Windows Explorer context menus so that when we're in a folder or we click on a file, we right click on a file, we can just click open with VS Code and it'll just open right away. So that makes it more convenient to open files in VS Code. So now we can review the setup and then click install. Once it's done, it'll say it's finished. Then we can launch Visual Studio Code. After launching it, it should open something like this with a welcome page. Here we can go to File, click on Open Folder, and then we can create a new folder somewhere memorable, like in the desktop. And we can call it Java Basics because that's the name of the series. And then we can select the folder and then open it here. And then say, yes, I trust the authors of this folder. So now before we start coding, we have to know that right now, VS Code is just a simple text editor for writing code. But we want to make it into a powerful environment for developing a full-fledged Java application. So in order to do that, we can go to the Extensions tab, and then the extension that we're looking for is the extension pack for Java by Microsoft. So now we can click Install. And now you can see the extensions are fully installed. So now our environment's fully set up so we can actually start coding. So we can create a new file titled main in capital with a capital M .java. So now you can see various extensions are activating because VS Code has detected that we're building a Java project here. So now if we go into Java projects, you can see once it eventually loads, you can see that we now have our folder, which it shows under here, and we can access our main.java class from inside the Java projects tab. So this Java projects section of the Explorer right here is just a much more convenient way of navigating through a Java project. So it's provided to us by this extension pack that we installed previously. So now you can see it's created a basic structure of a class with public class main, and the case of main matches the case of main and main.java up here. So if we were to change the class name, then you can see it gives an error, and it automatically changes the file name for us because in Java, the class name always has to match the file name exactly, including the capitalization. So let's change it back to main here. So now we need a place to store all the code that should be automatically run when we execute the code inside the terminal. So in order to do that, we can create a main method inside of this class. So firstly, we can start with the word public again, and then static, because the code that should be automatically run should never be changed, and then void, because we aren't returning anything after we run the code, and then finally main here, which is the name of our method. And so then we need a string array called args. This is just to pass arguments in through the command line, which we won't be going over in this video. And so this is the place where all of the code, if we were to click the run button right here, then it would automatically execute all the code inside this main method. And then now if we wanted to print out a message to the terminal, like for example, hello world, we can type system.out.println and then a pair of parentheses, and inside those parentheses, a pair of double quotes, and then our message inside the double quotes. And then afterwards, we need a semicolon to tell Java that this is the end of this print statement. So the semicolon after the statement is basically a period after the end of a sentence. It's a full stop. So now to actually manually run our code, we can go to the terminal drop down here and click new terminal. And then from there, in the console, we can type in javac and then the name of our file, in this case main.java. And then you can see a new file is created called main.class. And then this main.class file actually contains all the bytecode that was created after compiling this main.java. And so this main.class bytecode is actually directly executable by our machine. So the way we execute it is by typing Java and then the name of the class, which is simply main. And now you can see hello world prints out, the exact message that we put in these quotes here. So while we can do this manually, it's not really that convenient. So thankfully, the extension pack from earlier offers a run button that we can click to just run the code automatically with the press of a button. So some shortcuts to actually coding this project from scratch include, instead of writing that public static void main string array args, we can just do psvn, enter, and it'll create the main method automatically. And then to create a print statement, we can just do sysout, and then it'll create a system.out.println statement, and then we can print any message we want inside of it. So to cap off the episode, change this program that we made to print 3 separate lines of text using system.out.println, that statement, multiple times, and those 3 lines should include your name, your favorite ice cream flavor, and how you found this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to look out for the next episode, where we'll be learning about variables, data types, and scanners to get input from the user.